Welcome to the global trail-blazing paths across our world, in one of Africa's driest corners. You can sip a cappuccino for just 50 cents while American, Chinese, French, and Japanese troops operate within a 10-kilometer radius. Meanwhile, on a remote island in the Indian Ocean, women cast fishing nets at dawn and harvest vanilla that ends up in Chanel perfumes. These two forgotten former colonies, tiny in size, immense in contrast, are rewriting their stories. How did a military hotspot become a place where strangers offer tea like brothers? And how did one of the world's poorest islands scent the wealthiest wrists? Let's begin. Djibouti and Comoros, names that rarely echo through tourist guides, yet pulse with untold stories, both once clutched by France. They broke free in the 1970s to find their own rhythm. One sits on Africa's Horn, where warships and trade routes collide. The other drifts quietly above Madagascar, a chain of volcanic islands swaying to a slower beat. This isn't your average travel tale. Djibouti pulses with military might, and portside hustle, a micronation with global weight. Comoros, in contrast, whispers its beauty untouched, its economy perfumed with cloves and hope. Most people skip them. Most maps blur them out. But these nations aren't waiting for the world anymore. They were becoming something rare. But what no one expected was this. Djibouti, where the world stares at each other. Just north of the equator, tucked between giants like Ethiopia and Somalia, lies a nation barely bigger than a city yet pulsing with global weight. This is Djibouti, on paper. It's just a speck, 23,000 square kilometers, 1 million people, little rainfall, fewer headlines. But its geography, that's gold. It sits at the mouth of the Red Sea, guarding the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, where 1/3 of the world's oil and goods pass every day. Here, ships don't just sail, they are watched. America has boots on the ground. So does China. So does France. So does Japan. 4 of the world's most powerful militaries, each with a base, each with a reason, each staring across the sand at the others. What kind of place hosts rivals who won't even speak to each other? The answer, one that holds the map, not the minerals. Djibouti doesn't trade in gold or gas. Its currency is control. It is the lock on the shipping lane, the sentinel of 2 continents, and while the world watches from above, satellites, drones, soldiers, life on the ground hums with a different beat. But leave the ports, pass the perimeters, and the real Djibouti begins to whisper. Salt, silence, and the soul of Djibouti. Leave the noise of the city behind, and Djibouti shifts 2 hours inland. The world cracks open into something unearthly. Lake Assal, a blinding salt basin, 155 meters below sea level. The lowest point in Africa, the second lowest on Earth. The landscape feels lunar. Wind whistles through salt sculptures. The ground crunches beneath your feet like sugar. Locals call it the white diamond. Here, salt is not just a mineral, it's memory, survival. A quiet craft passed from generation to generation. There are no gift shops, no railings, no fences, just white, wind, and time. And yet, the contrast is striking. Back by the coast, Djibouti hums with life. The sea is everything: a playground, a pantry, a pulse. Children play barefoot on sand still warm from noon. Teenagers juggle soccer balls near the tide. Fishermen haul in tuna, snapper, sardines, grilling them over driftwood, seasoning with lemon and pride. Tea is poured high. With flair and hospitality, The rhythm is part Yemen, part Somalia, all Djibouti. This is not a place built for tourists, but it's a place built for stories. And if you listen carefully, they'll tell you one between the silence of salt and the laughter of the sea. But this is just the surface. What's hidden deeper might change how you see paradise forever. Comoros, the island you've never heard of. Just off Africa's east coast, floating between Madagascar and Mozambique, is a cluster of islands few can name and even fewer can place on a map. Welcome to Comoros. It sounds like a myth, a nation made of volcanoes, where Arabic prayers echo through French colonial ruins. A Muslim-majority island, where the streets smell of clove and salt air, where women wear colorful shida dresses and men gather under baobab trees to trade stories and politics. Comoros broke from France in 1975, but one island, Mayotte, never left. It's still French territory. You need a Schengen visa just to land there. The locals, they're not thrilled, but the rest of Comoros. It moves to its own rhythm. The capital, Moroni, clings to the shore like an old soul. Mosques lean into the wind. Boats rock gently in blue-green bays. Electricity flickers. Water is hauled. Time forgets itself. It's not the past. It's the present, just untouched. French, Arabic, and Comorian swirl in the air. Omani sultans once ruled here, and you can still taste it in the spice markets, the architecture, the silence between prayers. And yet, few travelers come. There are only 2 hotels, no direct flights, no Instagrammable resorts, just depth and rawness, and beauty that doesn't ask for attention. What keeps a place like this invisible? Its distance, or our distractions. Women, spices, and the island economy. In Comoros, the ocean isn't just a backdrop, it's a co-worker. Here, women wade into the shallows with handmade nets, casting them like ancient choreography. They fish, they farm, they ferment vanilla pods beneath banana leaves on these volcanic islands. Survival is a family affair, while men tend goats or gather at mosques. The women keep the economy afloat quite literally. They dry cloves under the sun. They climb coconut palms. They distill essential oils that end up in Paris. Gracing perfumes you'll never find on these shores. This is Comoros's quiet power labor, wrapped in tradition, hidden in plain scent. The land is fertile, but the roads are few. Moroni has no gleaming skyline, no metro. Trash drifts in the tides. Power outages are routine. Flights are rare and rarely on time. But there is a richness here that numbers miss. It lives in the spice-scented air, in the way elders greet you with proverbs instead of pleasantries, in the silence of forests where fruit bats hang like ornaments, watching. Comoros may not export cars or tech, but it exports mood bottled, boxed, and flown far from the hands that made it. So how do you measure wealth in GDP or in grace? And what happens to a place where time slows down, but the world speeds past? Djibouti versus Comoros. 2 journeys, 1 past. Both Djibouti and Comoros shook off French rule in the 1970s, 2 nations stepping into independence just 2 years apart. Same colonial past, same Islamic roots, same struggle to be seen. But today, they've taken radically different paths. Djibouti has become a geopolitical nerve center. Its GDP per capita climbs past $3,600, fueled by shipping. foreign investment, and military rent. Its streets buzz with languages French, Somali, Arabic, and its capital pulses with global ambition. Comoros, meanwhile, hums at a slower tempo. Its GDP per capita lingers around $1,100. Its exports, vanilla, clove, silence. French is still spoken. Arabic too, but here. The dominant voice is the ocean whispering lullabies and monsoons. One nation monetizes its map. The other preserves its soul. In Djibouti, you'll find satellite dishes, soldiers, and sea traffic. In Comoros, you'll find hand-woven baskets, prayer beads, and empty beaches. And yet, both places cradle the same warmth: a stranger offering tea, a child waving from a boat, a call to prayer that floats across rooftops. So which rhythm calls to you more? The hum of strategy, or the hush of simplicity? Identity, faith, and the future. In both Djibouti and Comoros, faith isn't just practiced, it's lived. Over 90% of their people follow Islam, but it's not the architecture that speaks the loudest. It's the rhythm call to prayer over crashing waves. Modest clothing billowing in desert wind or sea breeze. You see it in the eyes of women wrapping headscarves not for show, but for story. In the hands of men, whether steering fishing boats or haggling at spice markets, calloused by survival, softened by ritual. These aren't secular cities chasing glass towers. They're communities grounded in belief, kinship, and custom. In Djibouti, Islam blends with Somali pragmatism and Yemeni pride. In Comoros, it weaves through African ancestry and Omani echoes. Identity here isn't static. It's stitched from continents, colonizers, and centuries of trade winds. And as climate shifts, oceans rise, and global powers jostle louder, both nations stand at a crossroads. Djibouti, with its military tenants and rising rents, Comoros, with its fragile beauty and vanishing shorelines. The question isn't whether they'll survive. They've done that already. The question is, will the world notice before it's too late? And if it does, who will these nations choose to become? And yet, one tribe defies all logic. You won't believe how they breathe. Small nations, giant souls. A cappuccino for 50 cents, a lake of salt that glows like frostbite. A perfume ingredient traced back to women casting nets by hand. Djibouti and Comoros are easy to overlook on a map. But once you land, they won't let go. Djibouti is more than a chessboard for superpowers, it's a lesson in adaptation. A place where trade routes, cultures, and militaries collide. Yet, somehow, people still pause for tea. Comoros. It's not forgotten. It's simply untouched. A whisper of paradise that chose grace over speed, community over consumption. One pulses with power, the other floats in poetry. And both quietly, stubbornly remind us, it's not the size of a nation that matters. It's how deeply it holds its stories and how generously it shares them. In the end, they're not just destinations, they're mirrors reflecting the kind of traveler you want to be. So, which one would you choose? A nation guarded by 4 armies, trading power for presence, or an island where time drifts like tide and perfume blooms from soil? Comment below. Would you live among ports and strategy, or palms and silence? Drop harbor hustle for Djibouti, or island spirit for Comoros? We'll be watching, And if this journey stirred something in you, wait until you see Angola, a country with oil-rich cities, tribal kingdoms, and post-war poetry written on its walls. It's not just another African nation. It might be the most unique one yet. Click now to explore life in Angola. Meet the most unique country in Africa. Welcome to the Global Trail, where we blaze paths across our world.